The next one that I'd want to talk about probably is A Quiet Place. And I watched this last night actually,
Okay.
or 2 nights ago. So have you watched the original one?
I haven't watched any of these.
All right, that's a big mistake because these movies are very underrated. I feel like number one, this is John Krasinski. He's the one who wrote. I believe he wrote this movie too, but he directed it as well.
He wrote and directed it.
He did both parts as well. John Krasinski, Jim from The Office, for those who do not know who that is, and Emily Blunt is his wife in the movie. She's also his wife in real life. Like they're together. The whole movie is basically a horror movie, but it's not. It's cool. It's cool because there's that unique aspect of like you got to be quiet. It's kind of like
Bird
there's a couple
Box.
movies. It's kind of like Bird Box or those where you have this specific thing, but it's done in really a creative way. Like one of the daughters happens to be deaf, but like it's not really because like it's a big part of the movie, but that's not why it's so good. It's just the acting is really good, right? From just like an acting perspective, like the kids in the movie are really good. And this is for part one and part two. Um, and John Krasinski and Emily Blunt they're awesome. And the situations they get themselves into and not get them that they're in these movies are great. And I feel like he is not getting
The
any credit. I don't
recognition
feel he's
that he
getting any credit
deserves.
for these movies because these are some of the best horror movies that I've seen. Like they are horror movies. They're not like crazy. They're more like science horror. It's not even. It's probably more horror-esque than science.
So
Um,
basically, it's more tension than being like, oh, like a jump scare
yeah.
type of thing,
No, there's definitely jump scares, but there's a lot of
but
tension
more
too.
but more tension.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Especially like after the jump scare, like there's more shots that, yeah, like like how in like say Paranormal Activity something happens, it's just a loud bang, and that's why you get
Yeah,
scared.
yeah.
This one, it's like a long shot of like her in a hallway. She's walking in the hallway, and at the end of the hallway, all the way down behind her, you can see the thing crawl out, and like it's starting to come toward her, and it's not like super scary, but you're like
You see it
look
in the
behind you,
distance.
like
Yeah.
it's right there, and it's cool because you definitely do have a little bit of like there are a lot of similarities to Signs in this. I feel like,
Okay.
and I love Signs. It's definitely a totally different type of movie, but the way the aliens act and some of I mean, it is aliens by the way. It's not monsters. It's just they're aliens. Um, it's just really cool and unique. And I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but it's totally worth it. The second movie, um, Killian Murphy is like one of the main characters. That's the guy who plays. Well, he's the main character in Peaky Blinders. I don't. We've never talked about that show, which is another one of my favorite shows of all time. But he's also the guy who plays Scarecrow in Batman, in the Christopher Nolan Batmans.
Oh, he's in part two.
He's in part two. Yep, yep.
Okay.
So he's actually really good in this movie because you see part two, like part one, they don't really tell you what happened before all this. This is like a year after everything had happened, all the shit went down. You don't really know. There's a
How I
lot of like
got there.
unanswered questions. Yeah, there's like a lot of unanswered questions on like what's going on, and you figure it out throughout the movie. By the end of the movie, you kind of get a pretty general idea what's going on. Then the second movie gives you a bit of a prequel. The first like 15 minutes is a bit of the first day of it happening,
Okay.
and you see all these people in like their original their normal lives, and then it goes into immediately like five
Like
minutes after the
current.
first one. It's like 5 minutes after the first one.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, and it picks up right after that, and it just keeps going, and it's awesome. Like it really ties in the old story, and there's a lot of like just all themes of like humanity, and it's a really good story. Like it's just a small, short horror movie that I feel like everybody should watch, especially for a horror fan. Like I don't know why wouldn't want to watch this, because I see these Annabelle and like the priest and all these like horror movies, The Nun, and I watch those from time to time. I'm not a big horror fan, but if it's a good horror movie, I love Insidious. I think Insidious is my favorite horror movie of all time, like of all time. I think it's my favorite horror movie of all time. That and the second one, I love those movies. But you watch these Annabelle and all these ones, and they're just they're terrible movies. They're horrible. They're all just jump scares, and there's just shock value. This one is a little bit of a psychological thriller in that and a horror movie, right? There's a certain like tension that, especially being a parent, like kind of a spoiler, not really a spoiler, but like if you're as a parent, you can relate You can kind of put yourself
for the
like, what
stuff
would I
that's
do in that
happening.
situation? Because there's kids in the situation, and a lot of these movies, like the kids are just off in the nowhere land, and that's who they have to save. Like that's not it. Like you're in the position of the kid a lot of times in these movies, and what you would do as the kid, and then sometimes you're in the position of the deaf kid who cannot hear. So it's just it's a really good movie. I couldn't recommend these movies enough. I think I gave this one like a 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10, whatever it was. But I really like this movie, and I think the second one, people are saying it's not as good as the first one, and I some degree, yeah, just because there's less mystery to what's going on because you kind of know a little bit more about how they can
How it
defeat
got
the
there.
aliens and stuff. Yeah, yeah. So you find out a little bit. There's less mystery, but I still feel like it's a deeper story. The second one I feel like is a bit of a deeper story just because you have this man. I don't want to spoil it, but there's because of Killian Murphy, like his character is what makes the second movie good.
So like the second
Especially
movie is
once you get into
more
his
about
headspace.
the family rather than the world itself, pretty
No,
much.
I would say the first one's more about the family. The second movie is more about the world and the psychology of these people that are stuck there.
Oh,
And
okay.
how they adapt to
How
the
they
environment.
live and
It's
things
it's
like
almost
that.
like
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's almost like Walking Dead when Walking Dead was at its peak.
I
If you
was
like Walking Dead when
thinking
it's at its peak, you'll like this movie
I
for
was
sure.
thinking more of like maybe The Last of Us type of way, maybe.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like The
Yeah, I was
Last of
gonna
Us.
say
You
probably
if you
The
like The
Last of
Last of
Us.
Us, I don't know. I didn't bring that up. It is exactly like The Last of Us. Exactly like The Last of Us. So like this is, and I think I think maybe even Jeremy Johns said that it was like it's the best non-Last of Us Last of Us movie we've ever gotten because it is
Yeah.
very similar. Like they're very similar to
Because I
that.
feel
So
like they've always been, they go to point A to point B type of thing, and just the whole like traveling on foot all the time, and there's like those creatures or whatever in the game they try to like stay away from type of thing.
yeah,
So that was the first thing that popped into my head. I was thinking The Last of Us.
it's very that's a really good point. Not so much, not even just the story itself, but like the ambiance and like
Like the
I've never
premise.
played The Last of Us, but I've watched like total walkthroughs of the first game,
Mm-hmm.
and like the ambiance and the environment in which they interact in is almost it's so similar to that. Only they're not in a big city; they're out kind of in a small town.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very similar, very
yeah.
very similar. And if you like those games, like I couldn't recommend it enough.
Well, I'll just say because I'm not really a horror film guy because those I could not get into those movies. But I guess from high hearing high praise about you about this movie, I might change my mind. I might watch it.
I mean, like I said, if you have time to kill, I mean, I can get you these movies because I own both of them, or I can get you streams of them somehow. But
Oh, I would say Dildozer has it on Plex. I just never bothered watching it yet.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth it. And like even if you like I said, it's not so much a horror movie as a psychological thriller. Like there is definitely some horror aspects of it, but it's not gonna. If you like Signs, you like Signs, right?
Never watched it.
You've never seen Signs?
Nope.
Jesus Christ, this stream's over. How have you
Nope.
never seen Signs? You've never watched Signs
I
with Mel
know
Gibson?
I know what it's about. I just never watched it because I don't care.
You're blowing my fucking mind right now.
Yeah, all those movies. Nope, never seen them. Yeah, I'm uncultured.
You got to be kidding me. Signs is one of the best movies of all time. Like it's M Night Shyamalan's. It's got to be his best movie.
He made that?
Yes,
Oh,
God, yes. This is like the peak of the Shyamalan
no,
era. Are
until
you
he
kidding
made
me?
the greatest movie ever, the Airbender, the
Jesus
Avatar.
Christ. We don't talk about that. He's got great movies. He's got more good movies than bad movies. I'm not gonna defend him right now. But anyways, Last of Us. Go see Signs. You gotta watch Signs. I'm gonna tell those are to add Signs
Add
to
science to Plex.
Flex. How have you not seen Signs? God, we need to talk about that for 30 minutes. Signs is a great movie. Like, I, dude, you got to watch Signs. You're blowing my mind. Jonah's gonna flip.
Yep.
I'm texting him right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, so those are like those type of movies. Now you know. It's just I just never cared for them really. I guess that's a
Well, I
genre.
mean, look. Okay, so without giving you any spoilers of Signs, the reason why I'm comparing it to it is because yes, there's a horror aspect of like the unknown of what the hell is out there. You don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so much about that. It's not so much about like the jump scares and the horror and the monster that's around the corner. It's more about the psychology of the family and what is going through their heads. And that's what makes the movie good. That's what makes a good horror movie good, is when you actually have a good story behind horror, right? Like I like a good jump scare, but I don't like jump scares for the sake of jump scares. Like
For every 50
it's
jump
supposed to be,
scares.
like a good horror movie is like that's the backside of a good horror movie. That's how Insidious is. That's why Insidious is so good. There's like that psychological side of it.
I like
And
the
that's why
original
Signs is
Texas
amazing.
Chainsaw Massacre. I
Yeah,
like
but
the
those movies
original.
have those movies have no story. Those movies are garbage.
Those
Those are
movies are
just
great.
grindhouse. Those are just grindhouse horror
Those
movies.
movies are
This is
great.
a this movie, like you actually have to watch it. Like you
Even
gotta watch it.
even all the Saw movies, even the new Jigsaw. I didn't watch Jigsaw, but that's not the point. All the Saw movies, great. I don't care what anyone says.
I mean, Saw is entertaining if you like
If you like watching people
horror, like
being
gore
decapitated.
porn. You know, like that's. But yeah, like this is a good. It's a good movie, is what I'm trying to say. It's a good movie. Like I could sit down and watch it. Right.
Okay, okay, okay.
Saw is a movie you want to go see in the theaters. This is a good movie to go see in the theaters because you want to be absolutely quiet the whole time.
And be entertained. Are you not
Yeah.
entertained?
So that's all I got to say about it, though. It's a great set of movies now, and I don't think they'll make I don't think they'll make a third one. I don't think it's necessary, but I think the whole story is pretty much summed up in these two films, and it's great. And in terms of directing, I can't believe it's Like you don't John Krasinski
I
just
couldn't
seems
see
like
him as
such
a
an
director.
unassuming guy. Yeah, he just
Yeah,
seems like such an unassuming guy to really direct this. And I feel like nobody's giving him a lot of credit. I feel like that the music is a fantastic in this too, and not so much like it's the ambiance. Again, just like The Last of Us, where like the music picks up at the right moments and stuff, and it's a soundtrack that just really works well with
with the
what's
movie.
happening. So
Yeah, cool.
can't suggest it enough. So go watch Signs first, and then go watch A Quiet Place Part 1 and then Part 2.